This is so fun.
In an unprecedented turn of events, we are now doing part 3.
What is happening?
What is happening right now?
There's
Something
a lot to talk about.
just punctured my my glasses.
At least they
here.
didn't break. Yeah, so I think it's a great idea to just keep rolling because
Yeah.
there's more content.
Yep. And so part 1, we talked a little bit about more of
The
the
history.
discernment, history, understanding why and where we get information from.
Yep.
Even the textbooks that we trusted so much. And this is coming up in history, and I've got a great book here. You see my library of things all over. So even this book right here, just as a comparison, is the book, Nathaniel Philbrick, The Mayflower, the story of the Pilgrim experience. Reading this completely changed the narrative of how we view where we are in Plymouth, of the history of the pilgrims and things. And
we talked in the beginning about natural remedies. Before Rockefeller took over, scientists had discovered vitamin C. Like, we were just discovering vitamins, but they weren't patentable. But they did discover that you could treat scurvy, right? Which is a problem that people coming over all had. And so the problem was it wasn't profitable. And Rockefeller wanted to create a profitable medical model. And so it's funny you bring up that book, because that just shows you history was going this way. And we had thousands of years of ancient remedies. Also, Rockefeller, he went to China. And again, we know about Chinese herbs, right? They were so into plant medicine and botany and all of that. And he went there and he started an institution, and I forget how much money he threw at them, and it didn't catch on. He only established the one institution there, and he wanted to scale it up, and so that they weren't using the Chinese medical model of herbs or whatever, but they resisted. And to this day, as we know it, it's Chinese medicine, and they didn't stray from that. But he wanted to go global, and it only really it caught on here. But we spend the most on healthcare, and we have the worst health outcomes. So something's got to give.
Right.
Right.
And so, again, God bless you, that you're my friend, and you stay friendly with me, even though my insanity will come into play, and I go from A to B to C to D to E and all that. And I always look to the next thing. And you brought it up, how we're treating the symptoms. And I think a lot
allopathic model,
right.
The medical conventional model is to treat symptoms. That's simply what it is.
And then we're throwing it back, and I went back in time to just picture what was going through Rockefeller's head. And if I were to go sell air conditioners, right, I want to figure out a way to make people miserable in the heat.
Yeah.
Right? And so vice versa in the cold. And those are pretty concrete examples, but like if you get more abstract, you almost are going to try and create a fear first, create a problem that somebody needs to fix, right?
Yes.
You would hope that in a capitalist world that people are going to create the solution to a problem that has plagued people for a long time.
That's right.
And you hate to think of somebody creating the problem.
The right hand is feeding the left hand.
Right.
And there are whispers that
I
that's
get
true.
nervous when it comes to something like alarm companies, where they'll target neighborhoods that have had an outbreak of burglaries, and you go, well, why did all those burglaries come, and then all of a sudden they're not there anymore because an alarm company comes in? You start to think that way. You start to think that even
I think it's healthy to question. I think it's healthy.
Right, but it does erode a little bit of the trust factor.
It does, and that's an uncomfortable feeling. It's interesting though. We are so comfortable.
Like a lot of the deodorant issues, right?
Right.
Is a new thing. And we've been culturally conditioned to not like the odor of somebody, right? And I get it. I prefer that we are that way, but where did that come from?
Right. And again, talking about the toxic overload, when our bodies, I think we talked about in part 2, I don't know now, but the toxic overload is going to increase inflammation in your body, right? So fragrances, I do love them. I'm guilty. I have not removed fragrances from my life, but if you are in a state where you have been diagnosed with either autoimmune or a disease that, your health outcomes aren't very good, start looking at all the factors that increase inflammation in your body and start incorporating the modalities that can help reduce inflammation in your body. And it's not hard, and it's not going to cost $1 million, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Just drink water. Make sure you're moving your bowels. Make sure you're trying to get more than 4 hours of sleep at night. preferably 7 to 8. Make sure you're not eating processed foods. Make sure you're not ingesting and consuming a ton of alcohol or sugar. Make sure you're eating your polyphenols, which are anti-inflammatory and anti-carcinogenic, which are your blueberries, your avocados, your omega-3s. Eat your steak, your leafy greens.
And back to, again, like, and you bring up the idea of sleep, but even when it came to eating, and I don't know if this is a thing that people are still talking about, where grazing, like as cavemen or back when we were hunters and gatherers.
Yeah, that was
and
a
whatever,
whole fad.
But it made sense where you wouldn't know where your next meal would come from, so you would eat as you found food. Like you would be
That's right.
foraging for berries,
Small amounts.
eat the berries, then you'd get the big kill with a bison or an elk or something, and then you would eat for overwhelmingly a lot because we didn't have the ability to preserve food. So you would eat a lot, and then you might not eat protein or something for months and months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So back to the sleep concept, we see animals who will cat nap, or dogs will sleep during, and we wonder, are we bulking all of our sleep to one time a day because culture says we have to work 9 to 5, and our
Right.
day where it's light
Should
out
we be napping
is,
like in
or,
Spain with a little siesta?
I don't
know.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what
we
is
know
the...
is that our body has to work really hard to keep us alive and to digest food. It has to work really hard. And so your body cannot heal. I always tell my girls, when they're sick, just sleep as much as you can. Sleep as much as you can, because that is where you rest and repair. So...
Because even the construct of Monday through Friday, then Saturday and Sunday, weekend, and I've even heard somebody say weekend, like you're weakened by that. And I think it even came through the theories of Rockefeller or Carnegie, or one of them, that was like, it may have been Rockefeller, on the teaching us to buy into the model of working Monday through Friday, and then the weekend is this manufactured time where the workers from the factories would get to go home and spend time, and then they're back to work on Monday. But we are weakened by that theory. Sorry.
Again, look at
naked brass statue.
looking at chronic stress. Like, that's a stressful,
Yeah.
and we're in traffic and we can't get home and we're late for our child's sport game and Sport game. Remember when you were over and I think I said every wrong analogy?
We couldn't get our kids' sports costume washed in time for their...
And we were talking about shooting baskets, is that right?
Yeah.
I said throwing baskets at my house.
Yeah.
And that I needed my cleats on. Like, everything was wrong. It was so funny. But I digress. So to your point about when you look back at the beginnings of time and how, whether we grazed or whatever we ate, you made me remember another modality, which is fasting. So fasting is an incredible, incredible way of decreasing inflammation. And you can do as little as just 12 hours. So have your dinner.
Divine intervention, right?
Yeah.
Why we might be doing a part 3 here
Yeah.
is that I decided
Yeah.
from next Sunday until the following Sunday I was fasting.
Yeah, wait. Tell
7
me how many
days.
days? Whoa.
7.
Okay, so I was going to talk about a 3-day fast.
So I'm going to do a 7. Now,
Have you
that might mean
talked
that
to your
when we
doctor
do our
about
show,
this?
no.
You might be a little depleted. You
Well,
can definitely do
I'm gonna
3 days.
I'm going to be a bitch, probably. Well, I've done long extended fasts.
This is going to be a
before.
fun show, guys.
I've done 3 or 4 days.
This is next week?
Right, next week.
So next week when we
Sunday to
film,
Sunday.
you'll be at which day? Sunday to Sunday. So you'll be like
Now,
5 days in.
here's the thing. I've done it before, and after a few days, it becomes very easy. It's not.
Yes.
It's not tough at all.
Yeah.
It's the first. It's the first few, and the hardest part of doing something like that is the habit of
Yep.
like people who smoke.
Yeah.
And I've never smoked, so
Well,
I
it's
don't
like
have
the
this.
oral fixation.
Or just
yes.
the time of day they get up and it's
That's right.
their relaxation moment. It's not even the cigarette that's relaxing them. It's because some people say it's the coffee, or some people say it would be the breakfast that they
Maybe
eat, or
it's
the
the stillness
bowl,
or the quiet.
right.
Yeah.
And but the habitual nature of the action.
Your brain is correlating something with it. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
And again, and we're going down all sorts of rabbit holes here, but like there is I'll have to find this, and I don't want to say anything out of school here, is that there is nicotine could be the manufactured.
It's got benefits.
It has benefits.
Yes.
And it has the.
But look at the way you know that and I know that, but I bet people listening are saying, wait a minute.
I heard that.
what?
That stopped me in my tracks, and I
Yeah,
said.
it has benefits.
But I wouldn't have opened my eyes to it if I didn't go back to all of the lies or mistruths about even the food pyramid
Yep.
and like how we are molded and easily manipulated
Yes.
to
It's accepted, it's not.
In the
Period,
hu-
in the end. There's
right.
2 categories. And what side of the fence are you on? Because we all believe this. You
Yeah.
believe elsewhere? Oh, you're...
And it's all there's
You're outside
there's
the
truth,
box.
There's truth
Yes.
based. And I'm not telling people to go light up nicotine cigarettes, but based on the fact that that's a natural thing, right? It's a
Right.
considered a drug, what have you. But with anything burning, the tar and all of the chemicals that keep that in the cigarette, there's other reasons why.
It's the way you take it in
Right.
that is unhealthy, but it's not the nicotine. So inflammation, you just said burn, and it made me think. So this analogy I meant to say earlier, inflammation in our body, which again is the commonality that all disease states have. I'm repeating it because we're on part 3 now, but it's the commonality and the root of all diseases. And if we don't tap back inflammation, it will advance all of your diseases. Because inflammation is thought to be like a slow burning fire that burns up all your organs, even your brain. So we don't look at it like that. We don't we give it the weight that it deserves.
I was talking about
Fasting,
perceptions.
Fast. Yes. Okay. I'm
Fasting,
there. I'm
okay,
back.
back then.
It's funny. We too see what the topic is. Alzheimer's. That's where I was trying to get to,
Yeah.
and I couldn't remember. That's so funny. Not funny, but
Right.
But fasting. So a lot of times they have done studies on senior homes, right? And if you fast for 3 days, literally take Granny's tray away for 3 days, her memory starts to improve. Excuse me?
Right.
There's so much we don't understand.
But just the
Fasting-
act of doing that would be elder abuse,
Oh,
right?
of course it would
right.
be.
So there are issues there, and I even am questioning because I saw once you get past hour 72 of it, the health benefits become astounding.
So when you are fasting for even just 12 hours, you have health benefits. You've definitely decreased inflammation in your body. So if you can get on that routine, excellent. If you can do up to 3 days, and again, you have to stay so hydrated. And also, I will say, if you're going to consider fasting, you cannot be eating McDonald's, not you, but anyone who's like coming to this.
Oh, I thought you were allowed to. I was going to only eat McDonald's.
You can't, come in hot, eating a really unhealthy diet, fast, and then, pick up the French fries or the pizza the minute you stop fasting, because it's like
You don't even, that's what you think you're going to do, but you don't do it.
You don't do it.
At
But
the
some
end of a
people-
fast,
Yeah.
you don't even,
Your relationship with
hunger,
food has
right,
changed,
because,
yeah.
and again, it would be interesting to know what kind of chemical reactions happen to us by the desire for a savory or sweet kind of.
It's just the unhealthy gut biome. So
Right,
you heal
yeah.
it. So after you do 3 days, you can heal your gut biome and repair your whole immune system. So it is a bump. 7 days, I don't know anything about a 7-day cleanse. I hope that and I'll look into it with you, to make sure that you're safe, because I don't want you to do it in an unhealthy way. Do you have anybody helping you, or are you just kind of diving in?
I have a roll of duct tape I can put over my mouth so I won't eat.
all you
But I
need.
mean, I've done it again. I've done it before, and I don't think that. I'll even take it a step further for spirituality's sake. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a lot of people in the spiritual community have done fasting
Mm-hmm.
and have had spiritual experiences because
Yeah.
of it. Not because you're so delusional, but because again, it might be that kind of.
Your body's
Healing of your
working
pineal gland or
optimally.
something.
Yes.
You're tuned into.
Everything heals.
Right.
Is it Ramadan? What's that called?
The Muslim.
Yes, and they fast.
Yeah.
And they've done studies.
And all religions have gone through that.
Yeah. And
it's part of it.
skin heals. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a profound benefit that
Yeah.
fasting has on our
I
body.
mean, and you can go a good length of time without eating. Water, I think, is like you
have to have.
Yeah, it's like
Yes.
in 3 days, if you're not drinking water,
Right.
you could die.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But even if you didn't have water and you just ate, there's enough, and this is again goes to the whole perception or media-driven perception of what hydration is that you could only eat and be hydrated enough because there's a lot of water in things that even soda has water in it, right?
Yeah.
And even fruits and vegetables obviously are mostly water,
Right.
But we consume a lot of water without even knowing, and there was even controversy of saying you need to have 8 12-ounce glasses of water a day or something like that. But then there were other people on the other side saying that you could drown your electrolytes or be overwhelmed or overdose in that respect or something
there was
like
a
that?
woman
You have too much
famously
water?
who passed away from, chugging so much water during or after the Boston Marathon or something. It made world news. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, sometimes too much is too much, but 8 glasses is plenty. And like I said, 2 or 3
Like if you're just like, oh my
normal
God, I
sized
can't have
water
another
bottles
thing of water, then you shouldn't
be drinking it.
Right.
Like, right.
Yeah.
And you might not be absorbing it. We talked about this in part 1 or part 2, but a healthy biome,
Part 7, I think we talked about.
let's just never stop.
Right.
But there's a point in your body where you're dehydrated and you're not absorbing the water even if you're drinking it. And you'll know that because your skin is dry and flaky, or your hair is brittle, or your nails are off. So you're constipated, right? So there's ways to know whether you're hydrated or not. And if you're not hydrated, then you need to, I said you could put Celtic salt under your tongue, a few grains of that, and that will help you. But like to your point, so other ways of taking magnesium, inflammation, I mean. You can take magnesium, you can take black seed oil. Oh, gosh, I'm all over the place. But we also didn't talk about healthy oils. So a lot of people eat and cook with seed oils, like a grapeseed oil or sunflower seed.
Yep.
Right, not good. Not good for inflammation.
And even when you buy olive oil at the store, you should look to see if it's cut with other types of oils that you don't want to have.
That's right. Olive oil is good so long as it's pure. And then also avocado oil is good for you, So there's things that we can do that if we become mindful and an agent of our own health, that there's free or economically, if you're not buying processed foods or junk food, but you're buying blueberries and avocados and salmon and red meat, and you're buying healthier food, you're still spending money, but your health outcome is much better. When we went to a break, we were talking about modalities. What was the one that we were on? Because I'm not sure we even finished it. We talked about fasting, but were we talking about cold and hot therapy?
Hot therapy.
So we didn't
red
finish
light therapy,
that.
We were talking about that, but cold and hot, go ahead.
So cold and hot is an important, you love it. You always talk about your cold plunging, and I looked into it. And the reason it's so great, it is anti-inflammatory. So that's excellent for you. Mm-hmm. The other thing that it's doing is it is dilating and constricting your vessels, right? So it's moving the toxins out of your body. So good for you.
And again, it's re-migrating energy to the most important parts of your body without you even, what is it called? Your heart beats without you controlling it.
Your autonomic nervous system.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. And then there's other functions that we have to control, like,
Like we don't tell our heart to beat. It's just doing that. Right.
So in that function, the body thinks of it as a protection form, and it's going to protect. And all of your energy goes to your organs, like your brain, your heart, your lungs.
So you get this oxygen surge.
Right.
It's almost like,
And you feel that energy go to those. Now, it's not going to do any good for your fingers and toes. Like that's where it
shunts the blood to the
hypothermia or something like that, or frostbite.
You don't stay in long. How long do you stay in?
I've been staying in a lot longer lately because the water is warmer.
Right.
Right. But I've been having a lot more difficulty getting back to a normal state after the fact, which is, I think, okay, then I'm getting prolonged benefits of having maybe more caloric burn because that's what the shivering does, right? It's a little bit more uncomfortable, but anyway, that's when you stay in longer, that's what's happeing.
So do you do like a couple of minutes, or how long do you, because I was reading
now
about
I'm like 15, 20 minutes in the water, if not longer, or around that. And it depends on what mood I'm in, if I'm feeling like enough is enough or something like that, or if I'm not, the other problem with something like this, if it's I try to do it as a meditative thing, if there are now people around, because then we're at that point right now where it's still a little wacky to get in the water. And so people are walking along the beach or something with hooded jackets on, and
you're like, hey
walk
guys, in your swim trunks,
and like that, right? And then they just have to watch. It's like, have you seen somebody go in the water before? But they can't. So it's nicer where people are going to be there, but it affects my length of time in there because I'm just a little bit more conscious of
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I read about it, a couple of things came up. That alternating hot and cold is the most beneficial. So if you're in a situation where, there's a sauna available, ideal. And if not, do them separately. You can, if you have a lake outside your house
like you. I did that
this
morning at the gym.
Yeah,
so
saunas are amazing for
shower,
decreasing
which
inflammation.
I don't like,
but it works. I looked that up too.
Okay.
I looked that up too because that came up on a show of ours. And is it as beneficial? It is, because it's the cold water and your body reacts in the same way. The other thing that I found is that women are more sensitive to the cold than men.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be as cold for us. In fact, we have the benefits at a much lower degree. It's stressful for women. It's more stressful. And so when we're in a stressful state, it doesn't have the same benefits as it does for you. So
Right.
it impedes the progress. So it can be less cold and we'll have the same benefit. But optimally, we want to alternate hot and cold.
Is that part of the confusion, body confusion, where they talk about muscle confusion with working out, where you shouldn't be like Monday is cardio, Tuesday is chest and arms, and then Wednesday is legs, where they should be like, you got to keep your body guessing. So one day you would do legs and then you switch it up. Maybe have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah.
Muscle confusion
I
or
have
something?
heard of that. Yeah, and that's why there's like, it's like
you
leg
keep
day.
your body guessing.
Right,
So
right.
The cold, then going to the heat, again, that's an unnatural variation, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think it's a stimulant for the system, and it's like an immune surge.
Right.
And but yeah, so the cold and hot, alternating that is great. We talked about salt caves. That's, I think, what we were talking about as we went to break. So it's also known as halotherapy. You may have heard me talk about it.
I never heard that before. Halotherapy.
Halotherapy. So it's salt cave and
salt cave.
A salt cave. Yeah. Yeah.
What does that mean?
So basically, it's made out of like the pink salt, the Himalayan salt or whatever.
Right.
So the walls and the ceiling and the floor are all made out of salt. And it's incredible for decreasing inflammation in the body. Amazing. So
is it a man-made replication of what an actual
man-made,
salt mine
yes.
or something, or a salt cave?
Salt
like
cave. It's made
or...
with so you're enveloped. Some caves are aesthetically so beautiful because they really are floor, ceiling, walls, and it's like this pink, beautiful salt. Some others are they just they.
Have you ever been in a cave, like a cave spelunking or something like that, where the?
I've never spelunked.
Oh,
What's
you
that?
haven't?
No.
It's cave exploring,
Oh.
and I've done it in Wind Cave, where you're literally miles below the earth.
Yeah.
And you're in.
Odds are, yes, it's the same.
Stalactites, stalagmites.
Oh,
where you
yeah,
see
yeah.
So just to that point is that, and it can be deathly fearful. Like
I can't imagine.
You're miles under the earth, right? You take an elevator shaft oftentimes, and then you're crawling through spaces that are maybe as wide as this.
Wow.
But you would come out into a spot where you would flick your helmet light on or whatever, and you would be in a space the size of maybe the TD Bank North Garden.
Yeah, just
all white liquid,
Yeah.
like flowing, like it looks like milk, and it's weird. It's weird, but it's like it's
familiar.
a mineral.
Yeah.
It's
no question it has healing benefits, but I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds incredible.
But anyway,
and I would love to give a plug. I have a friend who owns a salt cave in Sandwich. So anyone watching who's local in the South Shore, is it called Salt? I think it's just called Salt. Or Situate Salt Caves. You should go. We should do a show from there.
Right.
We could totally do a show right from in the cave.
Yeah. When you say cave, what do you mean?
So it's an enveloped.
Does she have it in a room,
So it's a room.
building?
So it's a room, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can turn this into a salt cave so long as you frame it out, and then all your walls are literally covered. There's a woman, I think she's from Poland, and there's another one on Cape Cod. And she's the one that builds all of these salt caves. She goes to California. So there's a trademarked way of building halotherapy caves. And when you go, there's yoga classes in there. I mean, they can do all kinds of benefits.
Explain when you say halo, what is that? I'm thinking of the halo,
I think
of the
halo
glow.
means salt. I'm not positive, but I think halo is a derivative of salt.
Okay.
Maybe it's I don't know. What's the periodic table? What's it? I don't know.
Sodium chloride.
I don't know then where halo. I think it's got to be some sort of root thing with salt, and so halotherapy is salt therapy.
Because the halo from religious connotations is that glow of energy around.
Yeah,
so
not
when
connected, but probably the way you feel.
Could be. I'm just curious
Same
because
thing.
that's
I'm
an
not
interesting
sure.
name for
yeah,
it.
Yeah. So
okay.
I would imagine it's salt. It just stands for salt in whatever language, but. Yeah, and it's an amazing thing. It's super relaxing. It's super beautiful. And again, I do yoga classes in them, and so I go with my girlfriends. But if you have like any itis, if you have any known itis, you go to a salt cave. If you have
I can't believe I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'll show you pictures after this. Or maybe you
Okay.
can put up a picture of the salt cave in
I will,
South Shore.
right here. Just like
Free
I did
advertising.
the Wender Woman.
Oh, my
I
God.
went like this. I said,
And I
remember I'm going
never
to put a
saw
picture?
it. Yeah.
And then there you were. In
I
your
didn't see
Wonder
it.
Woman,
No, I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
Leotard. But like, so right there, I'll put the salt picture of the salt thing.
Yeah. So it's a really special place. So, and special benefits. So there's so many. So we talked about red light therapy. We talked about fasting. We talked about diet. We talked about removing processed foods. We talked about eliminating or limiting sugar and limiting alcohol. I'm trying to think of what
So we
other.
said the earthing, like
Grounding.
the feet, the
You can
ionic.
put your feet in the grass. You can get a grounding mat. You can do castor oil. So supplements, you can do black seed oil, you can do magnesium, you can do vitamin C, vitamin D, omega-3s, obviously probiotics, because again, that microbiome.
What was the herb or the we first met?
Saffron.
Saffron.
Yeah, so that isn't going to be what you need for this. However, they call it the happy.
That's a good stripper name,
herb.
Saffron.
Saffron. Is there a good stripper name?
They all come from like cinnamon,
Yeah,
saffron.
right. So
I don't know if you want to be called salt, but like
the salty one. She's
ion.
mean. No one wants the mean stripper. But so saffron is the natural Prozac, and you could incorporate it because ideally, if you're looking at the inflammation in our body, we are sleep deprived. We have insomnia when we have high inflammation. We have anxiety and depression. So looking at that, saffron is going to benefit you because if you take that and it starts to make your body feel happier, then you're contributing to your wellness and your health outcomes. So it's not going to hurt.
So, next week what I'll do during my fast, I'll do like a little day 1, day 2 report of how I'm feeling.
Love that.
And we'll see. And then
We should do a whole show on fasting because we could talk about your thing and then we can talk about, the many things that it does to your body.
Yeah, I mean, and I know I've done it, right? And I did intermittent fasting,
I've done it, yeah.
where that was beneficial. But then, and again, the motivation or your intent before you go into it, I think is important. And I had switched all around. I at one point I did it for spiritual and emotional reasons, and then it went to vanity, right? Which I thought maybe that changed because I was like, I'm losing weight, I'm feeling good, but I didn't like the fact that I thought of it as like a look good thing because that meant nothing, right?
Right.
Then now I'm seeing it as that a lot of the health benefits of like organ repair and things like that. I'm like, okay, that'll be good. It'll always come back to vanity. I mean,
It does, but listen, if we were talking about in part 1 that obesity is up 40% or 40% of the of our population is obese. Certainly that on our body is it's not indicative of great health outcomes. So if you're going to fast, you're tapping back inflammation, hopefully preventing disease, or you're not advancing it by tapping back inflammation, and you're getting rid of fat stores. I mean, that's what it does. When you fast, you're getting rid of fat stores and repairing your immune system. It's
back to
so beneficial.
and back to my own weaknesses as a vanity, whatever you want to talk about that.
Human
but
nature.
like, I think it's also indicative again if we look at culture and we see, okay, well, there's this movement of saying like dad bods are good or sexy or something like that, and I don't think that that's a healthy thing.
Yeah.
As the same way as that I would say where we're putting overweight women into spaces where that is accepted. And I don't mean accepted, like I think people are accepted the way they are.
Okay.
But by the same token, it's not healthy to be 200 pounds overweight. And even you can accept
glorifying
yourself,
it
right?
as some sort
like
of fetish.
The what was the Cardi B, like whatever, like the rap, the
So
what's her
it's
name
twofold
there?
because
It's
mental
twofold.
health is so important, and so we want body positivity, and we want people to feel
We want to have people
good in
be
their
happy
skin.
with
And
the way
listen,
they are. Right.
German built versus whatever, like Scandinavian built, very different. So some of it is your genetics and whatever.
It shouldn't be something we
I agree.
aspire to be.
Yes.
As opposed to, yes, if we're in a condition where we're unhealthy, we still want to accept that we're still good people.
That's right.
But we also shouldn't glorify it to be like, okay, you're an extremely overweight teenager. And what is extreme, right? Because you can go into the medical.
Well, we know what it's going to do. It will impede your.
But and Ken Park, we were talking about, when he came on,
Yeah.
that we were talking about Wii, the gaming system, you know,
Yeah.
that, and he always got frustrated because it put him in as obese when you put your body height and weight and stuff like that. And you
That'll
look
do a
on the
number on
medical
your
charts,
brain.
you're
Yeah.
obese. Like I'm obese.
Yeah.
Like is the category. I'm
Yeah.
6'1", 6'2", whatever.
Right.
My weight would say I'm obese. Now I don't feel obese. I feel like I could lose some weight. I look at, if I go to the comparison route, I'll look to other people and say, well, I'm not that, or, you know, I might, but I'm in the age range that I'm in, I'm pretty normal, right? But that doesn't mean that that's right or wrong either.
And I think, you know, who cares about titles? Who cares about what you're called? How do you feel?
I feel fine. I mean, I you know, I don't feel fine, you know, like in other ways, but I mean, I don't feel, from a physical standpoint, I guess that's a few levels down.
It's not,
on my,
priority
you know,
for you.
Not,
it's not where you spend your time stressing.
It's not where I feel like I'm being damaged at all, right?
Right.
So, and I had somebody else on the show a couple days ago, and a friend or whatever, and I was editing, and this is a very hard business if you have any kind of self-image issues, right?
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yeah.
and I'm looking at it, and I go, I can't believe how fat I looked during that interview. I'm talking to him, and he just went right into all the ways I needed to lose weight. And I'm going, that's not what I was. And I go, okay, all right, thank you. Very helpful. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, that didn't go the way not that I was wanting them to say you didn't look fat, but I was just kind of joking. Right. But I'm like, okay, he noticed it.
Yeah.
Right. And it could probably have been because we hadn't seen each other in a while. Like, I don't know. But I just go to the point of how we balance where health and, because you have a woman who's she'll be very healthy, right? But you are very healthy. But there are women like you who could look in the mirror and say,
I don't look good
and then
enough.
try to I need to lose another 25, 50 pounds.
Right.
Then you're emaciated.
Again, if you're looking at the integrative health model, then you're looking at the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Yeah. Something is misaligned if all you can do is, and this goes back to our show on mirroring, like if you are looking in the mirror and all you can do is put yourself down or pick yourself apart or, you know, wish something was different, then you're in a cycle of negativity that's causing stress in your brain. Chronic stress causes increased inflammation. You're probably, if you're not managing or feeling empowered, eating the things that are quick and easy. So this is reversing all of that thought and realizing that you have a hand in your health outcomes, that you are empowered, that it isn't hard, that it's super easy, that you change a few things, see the progress, change a few more, see more progress, and eventually you've taken back your health. You've taken back your mental health, you've taken back your spiritual health, and you've taken back your physical health. If you're looking at your whole life, if you're the type that wants a pill for every ill, you're going to fix one aspect of you, while the other two are working against your improvements. Do you know?
And there's a doctor in Braintree, Dr. Joel Price, who is very, again, one of those like Dr. Arena, who's on sort of the outskirts of medicine.
Alternative.
And has been amazing from the people that I've talked to, and my wife went to him, about food sensitivities, right? And he does an amazing test.
Allergies is increased inflammation, food allergies.
Even less of an allergy of a reaction, but a food sensitivity, which could be a reaction that you don't even notice. And for instance, if you have some type of obvious the lactose intolerance kind of scenario, but yogurt is to help with probiotic and like the gut health and stuff like that. But if you have a sensitivity to that and you're developing other issues that could be inflammation of whatever, then everybody is different in some respects.
Everybody is so different. So you have to have a relationship with your body. How do you feel? How's your skin? How's your sleep? How's your energy? Are you tired after you wake up? How's your irritability? How's your brain fog? How's your...
And sadly, everybody is going to say, yeah, we all have those
We
issues.
do. We all have inflammation, but then are you doing things to tap it back? Are you going to halotherapy? Are you fasting? Are you eating polyphenols, blueberries, avocados?
I don't think people know the potential of where you could be.
I
because
don't think
we're
they do
set
either.
a bar, a measure, and there was another doctor on the North Shore that I talked to who was doing a lot with testosterone. And everybody, like, go get your testosterone levels measured, and then you fit into the standard medical definition of like you have average testosterone, but who says like is that low T because it's basically what they decide is the number that makes it low T or high T. So then we don't even know potentially how good we could feel.
That's right.
And we're
conditioned to think that this is just
old.
it. Yes.
You're getting older. That's just natural.
That's
so
exactly
I need these
my
stupid
point.
things.
That's right.
Like
Well,
why
even
am
that.
I, yeah.
Even that. So there's, again, this is a different show, I think, probably because there's so many great supplements that we can get into that have different healing modalities. Today, I really wanted to focus on inflammation, but you mentioned glasses, so here we go.
Cheaters.
I have them too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, in every room, in every coat pocket, and But lutein is a supplement that can repair your eyes, and guess what else? Red light therapy.
Lutein? What the heck is that?
Or is it leucine? Ooh, shoot. I think it's lutein. It's lutein. But again, I didn't know we were going to talk about this today, so this is just off the top of my head. I think it's lutein.
When I fast next week, we should just do from Sunday to Sunday, just nonstop the show. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Checking in, Chuck.
A marathon. No, just we sit here for that'll help me with fasting. Nobody will bring me food. We just go a live marathon.
Where did you slowly, come away from yourself?
Sharmin's going to nap for the next 6 hours while I just talk about cold
like
plunging.
those live webcams that people have. It'll just be like Chuck in fasting mode.
Yeah, watch.
But yeah, so
shrink.
we've just become so conditioned to think that at a certain age we all need glasses or readers. But the truth is they say the right supplement can heal your vision and also red light therapy. So literally looking right at the bulbs. And that's just crazy.
Tell me again. Okay, go back to the red light therapy theory. So, or treatment. Or I don't want to say theory.
So there's different colors of light, and they each have different benefits. So red light therapy is one, and that has its own, wound healing and anti-aging and anti-inflammation. And then there's blue. I don't know enough about the different colors, but they each have a different benefit.
Well, so they're frequencies, right? Because each color will have an energy frequency associated with it. So ultraviolet.
Yes.
And then you have some will damage your skin, as we know with the sun,
So this is why it's like sun without the damage. It has all the benefits: mood enhancement, better sleep from red light therapy.
Even the whole idea that we need suntan lotion and sunblock is controversial.
Well, and most of sunblock, as we know, has been pulled off the market because it had cancer-causing ingredients. I mean, we're trading what we had been told is the solution for a problem. Oh, that makes me think about liver. So our liver has such an important job, right? And that's the other thing. So we talked about elimination of toxins through, your bowels and all that. And that's so important. But is our liver functioning at its, optimal health? Because it's really important that it is. So
and the liver is regenerative, right?
The liver is regenerative.
Yeah,
yes.
So if you had a piece of it removed or something, it would grow back.
Yes.
But why doesn't the kidney or lung do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I did understand that. I don't know.
We should invite God on our show next week.
Let's see if we can get him. Call him.
Yeah, I will. I'll try to.
But it's just really cool because, and I actually take something called Dose. Again, I'm plugging for all these things today, but it's a liver. It's just good for your liver health. And I mean, I hardly drink, almost at all, except this past weekend. I definitely did. But yeah, but I take it for the benefits of just keeping my body healthy so that it removes toxins that it's as best it can. So when we start to realize all the ways we have power and control over our health outcomes, it no longer feels like I'm just getting old. I'm falling apart.
And think about just how that plays a role in in what you hear and how manipulated you are with the media, because whatever you see on there, if that's a behavior that you overdo, you're going to justify it. So let's just say, for instance, because I've seen it, eggs were the egg white only, it's bad for you, it's, blah, 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 blah. And you could watch that. If you don't like eggs, see, I told you. If you love eggs, you would say, oh, that's no good. But then they come out, egg is a superfood, bang, you're back into it. Drinking wine, a glass of wine a day is okay or good for you.
Oh, it
and then
changes
if I
all the
drink
time.
a bottle of wine a day, I would say, wow, I'm doing extra work.
You and I have talked about cognitive dissonance, and it's people's ability to, how would I describe this? They don't have an open mind. They are so hell-bent on their opinion that no matter the facts that come in, they will not be manipulated in their minds to believe anything new. They're just, it's blinders to whatever new information is out there. Yep. And that's a dangerous place to be, no matter what you believe. And again, coming back to Dr. Andrew Weil, again, he always says, good medicine is based in good science. But more importantly, he believes in being open-minded. To the point that you just said, data is always happening. We're data from this conversation. And, there's data all day long on on human behavior. We would be crazy to think that what we, once knew is always going to be true. We might learn something new, and we have to be open-minded. But how many people are not?
Well, because it's natural for us to not want to think that we poison, like again with vaccinations, right?
Yeah.
Parents are not going to be able to accept the fact that they possibly had played a role in long-term health issues for their kids. So they're not going to go to that point of saying like, just like, nobody wants to get to their 80th year of life and go, oh my God, I was wrong about everything my whole life. Everything. Yeah. And you've heard stories of people who are adamant atheists who got to their deathbed and saw some sort of vision and said, like, I think the biggest atheist in the world at the time, he was like this satanic worshiper, and that's not atheism, that's actually, but it was on his deathbed, and witnesses say that he said, I was wrong about it all, and died, because a vision that and you would never want to get to that point where you said, I was wrong about it all.
Yeah.
But how do we come to the conclusion?
Because there should be no ego involved. There should just be open-mindedness, like Dr. Andrew Weil says. So if you're open-minded, then you are a student of life. Self-mastery is life mastery.
Yeah.
So if you...
Is regret a part of the ego?
Do you regret it?
Like if you were to think that, okay, if I go do cardiovascular, work the treadmill for years and years and years, and we come to find out we won't, that it's bad for you or something, or it did nothing. How about that? And then you said, oh my God, I wasted so much time. I could have been working with my family, or here I was just walking on a treadmill. That's a regret, right?
Sure. And then I don't think there's a way to avoid that. Unfortunately, I think that, I always say there are no mistakes or it would not have happened, and life is our teacher. And so you're always learning. And so if you can have that space of like, if you know better, you do better. And, mistakes are made, but they're for us, not to us. And I think you're always evolving and learning. There can't be any pride in it. There can just be the desire to be better than you were yesterday.
You've amazed me more and more every week that we've done this, because I
true.
Oh, it is, because I know I throw some things at you you're not prepared for. You don't understand. I'm not even. We didn't discuss any of this stuff. I'm throwing things at her and she's knocking them down. That's how smart she is, which is incredible. Because I felt guilty a bunch of times here because I thought I'm just bombarding you with like my stream of consciousness.
But that's great. But you know what's so interesting though? The way that you are questioning these new health modalities is healthy. I would want you to question them. I wouldn't want you to jump in and do it. But funny how we jump in and say, oh, you want me to take that med? Give me that. Give me that pill for that ill. Because you're a doctor in a white coat. What?
And how many times, and I don't fall into this category, but I would say a lot of young people who are figuring life out or something, you have college age kids, and so do I, who would just take a pill. And you heard of those Skittle parties? You heard of those?
They sound fun.
No, they're not.
Oh.
So kids will come and they steal all their parents' medications.
Oh, God.
And then they
just
dump
pop
them in a
whatever.
bowl.
Oh, God, no.
And then you grab a handful.
Terrifying.
Imagine that.
No.
But that was something that, again, that you would see on the news, like warning, for parents who have no clue, and you hear things through the scuttlebutt or something, and I sound old even saying scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt is definitely
old. But
old.
you hear something like that, and you go, and these same kids might be out protesting because they don't agree with something else that is going on in government, yet they would be so willing to just throw some unknown chemical into their body.
Interesting.
Right? And we do that all the time.
We do it all the time. Right. So again, it's just, you have to have discernment. You have to be looking at your whole lifestyle modifications. A pill is never going to solve anything. I mean, antibiotics, yes, it's going to stop the infection, but it's going to screw up your microbiome. If you're aware of that, then you're counteracting that, and you're taking the pre or probiotics, and you're doing the things. But if you don't know, and you just blindly say, what's the pill for that, and you change nothing about your life, then you're always in a perpetual cycle of wearing down your body and setting it up for dis-ease. So if every day you are cognizant of inflammation and you make decisions around tapping that back, then you are always stepping towards either preventing disease or at least not advancing it. And again, autoimmune diseases, they tell you that they're not curable, but they are. But they will never be curable in an inflammatory environment. You've got to tap that back. I can't talk. This is the third show.
I could go another 6.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, I can't remember if we did this on camera or not, but what I was saying, there was an app where I said it was free to walk around and you would get cash benefits and coupon benefits for how many steps you take and all of that kind of thing. And you go, and my natural instinct is to question why, the motivation of that.
Right.
Why are they interested in that?
Yeah.
Right. And why they're doing it for free. What's the free? Because there's no such thing as free. And when somebody gets a Google ad or a Google account email, it doesn't cost you anything, right? Or if you can launch your own YouTube page, it's free. Right? It doesn't cost you anything. Who's benefiting from that? Google is a billion-dollar company.
Right.
They're not stupid, right? They're having you. Why is it that they want you to do that for free? There's something that they're getting benefit-wise. So when it comes to pills, when it comes to the vaccine, when it comes to all of these things.
Maintenance meds are the home run of the pharmaceutical industry. If I can get you on a medication for the rest of your life, it's a winning scenario for the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
Is it winning for you? No, because maybe it's helping the one thing, but you have these other side effects. So the best scenario is to get you off that medication, if we can, by looking at your whole life. Your stress, your relationships, your sleep, your food.
I should have said this before, but we shouldn't have some type of disclosure or something to say that somebody who's on medicines to experiment and go back and on and off is not good either.
Not at all.
So even if you're on something that you don't feel good about.
You stay on that medication and then you start doing the things that aren't going to hurt your medication with lifestyle modifications. That's
like with heroin, you can't just get off of it.
That's right.
You have
I'm glad you made that point, because truthfully, if anybody's on any, like a statin or, you name it, right? You stay on that. You don't just get off of that. But you can today take your feet up, walk in the grass. You can, decrease your sugar. I'm going over it again and again because they say you have to hear things multiple times for it to lock in. And I want people to lock in on this show and walk away feeling empowered and like they can just do these little things.
And hopefully people, we have to, the reality of how this type of content works is that people don't see it in its entirety. And people may have watched 10 minutes of this, but not have watched all of the shows that we have done to put it into a context of an entire theory and our belief system. Because I think if you watch every one of our shows, you'll get a sense of knowing who am I, who you are. Maybe I shouldn't be suggesting people do that. But you would get a sense of understanding, even when we're talking about relationships or... Because theoretically, you already said laughter is the best medicine. That's all we needed from a prior show. And here we are talking about, okay, well, maybe saffron is. Maybe salt therapy or salt mines are the best medicine. There are...
But look everything we've talked about is free. And no, I didn't ask you to sign up for my course, and I didn't ask you to read my book, and I didn't ask you to spend any extra money. Go laugh. Have a sense of humor. Don't take life so seriously, and just make some healthier decisions. Take, agency over your own life. Realize that you are a starfish. You can heal yourself in the right environment. Your body is so super intelligent.
What other animals? The starfish, the iguana does it, with the tail. So it's not just we think of the starfish as the most obvious example. But there are, and human beings, we talked about the liver, right?
Yeah.
We talked about if I have a cut on my hand.
You're going to heal.
It'll heal.
Yeah.
Right? And so how big does that cut have to get before it becomes medical intervention needs to take place, right? Because we are healing.
Our body knows how.
Right.
We have that intelligence to handle it all. But like Dr. Andrew Weil said, if he gets in a car accident, your body can't do its own MRI, and and we need help from modern medicine, Western medicine, if we have, an infection, and if, we need surgery. There's a place for both. And it's just considering, is there a non-invasive, natural way that I can come at this before I consider the other way? And that is the whole point.
And discernment. Right? Looking at just asking a question when you see a drug commercial on TV and it says, ask your doctor about. Why should you ask your doctor about the prescription before you even know what the condition is? And that would be something I would recommend for people to just take a step back and to just always ask why.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the journalist inside me or whatever.
No, for
but just
sure.
ask those questions of
And
why.
again, question everything and question, can I heal myself? So, for example, I think I've said this on a different show, but I got in a car accident. It was just a mild fender bender, but it threw my back. Like I had back pain, a bulging disc. And they said, you know, with my MRI or whatever, you're going to need back surgery. And that's a major process.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, thanks. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try yoga. And at the time, I wasn't aware of the anti-inflammatory diet, but I was probably doing things that tapped that back. And I don't have back pain at all. It's completely gone.
Yeah.
I talked about earlier, I think.
Me too. I had issues, and again, through other means, I was able to, and I even think, and I'm interrupting you.
No, it's the same.
I remember having a problem where I was going to be having knee surgery, and I got acupuncture from just it sounds weird, a stranger was at a health fair. They put a needle in here, and this pain went away.
Oh, yeah.
But this felt like it was a gunshot.
Yeah.
Like I felt like a flash of
Profound.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this, to the point where I was like,
Yeah.
weirded out.
That's
by it.
amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because but the explanation of it makes sense. It's like Christmas lights.
The meridians.
One light goes out, and
Yeah.
all of these go out. Like our electronic system is all connected.
And we're not taught this. Why,
Right.
why are we sitting in a classroom learning about our body and having the knowledge over its healing capabilities?
Yeah.
We don't. When I was in nursing school, I told you I wanted to look into holistic nursing, and there wasn't a lot out there at the time. And thankfully, I had this really amazing mentor who said, come to Brigham and Women's. I was living in Chicopee at the time, Chicopee, Mass. And she said, come to Brigham and Women's. There's a nurse in the NICU that is doing some holistic modalities on the babies. One of the modalities was called kangaroo care. Have you ever heard of that? It's skin to skin. So you take the newborn baby,
Yep, right.
and you just put it on your bare chest so that the baby's lying skin to skin. And the baby's heart rate co-regulates with yours. So right, it's amazing. It's so beautiful. And that same nurse did Reiki on the babies, and she also took me to Chinatown to a Chinese apothecary so I could see all the plant medicine and everything. And it was just, it was so amazing. But looking at just skin to skin care, like why isn't that the standard? Why is she unique? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, yeah.
And at the time, I think now it might be because we're so many years later, but at the time it was so unique that there's a nurse in Boston doing this alternative thing, but you could
a zoologist
monitor it.
getting together with a
Yeah.
biologist who can see why does called kangaroo theory or whatever you called it, like why do the nurturing behaviors of that animal, what can we learn from that into the human form, and those two
There's a lot to be learned from
they don't
nature.
get
Yeah.
together. And I think that we damage the educational system in our life when our kids ask a question and they say why, and we say because I said so.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're a mom. You know.
Yeah.
In some respects, it's an authoritative place to say I know better. I'm the adult. I'm not going to get into it.
The real vulnerability there is I don't know, and imagine saying that though.
Right.
I don't know why.
Right.
We say because I said so because we don't have the answer.
Because and it's not even the question of whether or not it's right or wrong for the kid. You're saying you respect
authority.
me.
Yeah, it's
and
power.
You got to understand. I'm just saying no, and I'm the mother. This is my rules. This is my
Yes.
house. It's because I said so.
That's right.
Right. But then we take that. The teacher says it to the kid.
And the doctor.
And the doctor, and then our selectmen, and then our governor,
And
then
our politicians, and our
senators,
presidents,
right.
and so true.
and our religious leaders.
And you
they,
must develop your own discernment to question what isn't true for you.
Yep. All right, that's good. We can wrap that up. We're going to take another break, and we're going to go to part 7. No, I'm just kidding. Good job.
Yeah.
This is a marathon endurance test.
Yeah, this was fun
Tom.
though.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think we scratched the surface. There's so much more
Well,
to be said on
of course,
this
every
topic.
show we do, there'll be more that we can
Yeah.
elaborate on and go into. And I want to go to that salt thing, and because I do have a lot of content and footage of salt, like places in Croatia,
Yeah.
where they would talk about the importance of salt in humankind going back thousands of years, and then all of a sudden, some after-school special or Schoolhouse Rock I see, or whatever it is that says to us that we're going to tell you that salt is bad. discernment. We got to ask these questions.
Are you feeling better?
Yeah.
Does, you know, you have to have your own guideposts. Are you improving? You know, what are you feeling? Are you sleeping better? Are you less anxious? Do you have less brain fog? Are you feeling rested when you wake up?
Right.
Do you have pain? Do you ache when you stand up from a chair? Do you groan when you get up from a chair?
I'm fine.
After 3 shows, we should keep it rolling as we try to get out of these chairs.
Oh my gosh, you're a beautiful woman.
Or maybe it's the opposite.
That's funny.
Yeah. So,
right.
anyways.
Good stuff.
Okay, good stuff.
All
Thanks
right.
for sticking with us. This was a
absolutely.
marathon. Okay.
Good.
Thanks.